videos to demonstrate things that you can do to learn programming, to fiddle with available tech and such. The impetus for this really is that I potentially will be teaching some students in the 6th grade who have restricted Chromebooks. They apparently cannot install anything. They cannot sign up for services because they cannot get email potentially for the services to be able to do the sign up process and things like that. So I got this Chromebook and started fiddling around with it, see what could be done. And my good friend Grant suggested that that I show HTML and JavaScript, because those things are all available in a modern browser. You don't have to install anything additional. And on top of that, if you want to use something like Vue or possibly React or Angular and things like that, you can use a CDN address that you just put at the top of your web page in order to use the JavaScript frameworks that they provide. So this will be just a simple thing right now for, hey, how do I use my Chromebook to create a simple HTML? I won't get into JavaScript yet. This is just very basic. So I know I found out that the Chromebook comes with its own text editor. This is available on the Chromebook. So that's a simple example I was messing with there. Let's create a new one. I do like this touch screen on here. In fact, when I go to my other laptops, now I'm finding myself touching the screen in between typing, which is kind of funny. A lot of this is going to be very basic. Many of you are familiar with HTML, maybe you're not. HTML is built of elements that are have a begin and end. An HTML document, and you can see the elements are, the begin and ends are wrapped in these less than and greater than symbols. You know, technically you'll want to put HTML doc type at the top of this. I don't remember the exact syntax for that, but that's the technicality. The basic skeleton of it is here. Hey, HTML, within that you'll have a head typically, and within that you can put various things such as scripts. And you can put scripts anywhere, but I believe the best practice is to put it in the head, but you can put other things like style sheet references, titles. I'd have to look to see what all goes in there. Body is kind of the main piece of it. And this is where typically your content goes. Things like a paragraph, and each of these element types, and HTML5 has a lot of new stuff, including canvases and video elements that make it a lot easier to do some pretty fancy stuff. But again, this is basic. Might have a paragraph that says, hey there world, and you know, oops, that fancy things like I want this to be bold. I won't go back to 1995 and make blinky text. Bold, italic, I don't remember italic, I'd have to look that up. You get the basic idea. Might have a link. Let's see here. And I probably will get some of this incorrect, but that's the great thing about programming. You don't really need to. Oh, and by the way, A is for anchor. So links technically will be called anchors. They can anchor to other elements in the page as well. For example, again, if I remember this correctly, I'll probably get this wrong, but let's just do this just to see if I got it right. But like I was saying, the cool thing is, you can experiment. I started with HTML, and technically it's not programming. But when I was in high school, back in the AOL days, Netscape days, I was fooling around with HTML, which was my first look behind the scenes and manipulating text to change the thing that's presented to you. And that's the cool thing about programming. So anyway, let's save this as an HTML file, which just means that it is something like example.html. And we're going to save that. And then we're going to open it in a browser. JS, but that's all right. The idea is the same. So there we go. Hey there, world. Look, my world is bolded. Let's see if these links work. I'm going to open this in a new tab. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Let's see if I can see what this. It may need HTTPS or something like that. Well, I didn't create an element. I got a little ahead of myself there, but you can see the basic thing here. You create an HTML page that the browser renders. And another great thing is that, we can see it this way. Let's inspect the page. There's my HTML that I wrote. You can go to any page and inspect the HTML, and you can see, as well as manipulate it in the DOM. This won't save the file, but you can make a change and then see if the change, you see there, it needed an HTTPS there. Right, so pretty cool stuff. You can explore, you've got a JS console where you can kind of do some live debugging or console output. Oftentimes you're going to be trying to program something, you're going to get things wrong, and you'll learn about logging and exceptions and so many other things. So you can see the sources. That's this file, example.html. You can also observe network calls and find out what went wrong in some cases. You can also look at the styles, which I didn't add any styles here, but there's some basic ones. We'll get into CSS as well. I've spent a lot of time with CSS back a long time ago, to the point of really getting frustrated with it, but I hear it's better these days. Anyway, there you go. There's a basic HTML page, all done with what comes on the Chromebook. So hopefully that's useful. If you might have students, you might have children, you might have other friends who want to get started on something and they have no idea where to start. This is a really cool way to start. You don't really need to install any languages, libraries, tools. Even if you don't have a basic editor, there are plenty of text editors. You don't have to get into complicated ones like Emacs or Vim, but eventually you might want to. I'll go through all that stuff. For now, have some fun. One note on the text editor: you're not going to want to use something that is like a what you see is what you get type of editor. In other words, like a Word document or anything that adds additional formatting, and it will not be interpreted correctly by a browser. So a simple text editor will do. Hope that was fun, and stay tuned for some other cool JavaScript later.